David, Roland Emmerich came out recently and garnered a lot of press for his film Moonfall by denigrating other films, namely the Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, as being like the death of cinema or something like that, kind of echoing Martin Scorsese's sentiments.
Hmm.
Um, the irony, of course, is that his film opened number two this weekend, beaten not by a comic book movie or a galaxy far, far away, but by a bunch of middle aged jackasses who took in $23.5 million to Emmerich's $10 million, $10,005,000 to be precise. What's going on here?
Well, the only thing those movies have in common is it's mindless entertainment. So yeah, I don't know if you're going to learn much from either. And so yeah, I mean, with this whole Roland Emmerich interview thing, it just it's not even the end of the weekend and that thing drops. It's just bad form, to in general come out, and you're talking about your own industry, man. I mean, if it wasn't for the success of Star Wars or Marvel movies, we probably wouldn't take a chance on your sci-fi movie.
Well, maybe. I mean, but this is the guy who did Independence Day, and I mean,
Two.
with the well, he did Independence Day 1 and 2. I mean, these are he was
Yep.
he's the progenitor of a lot of what we've the modern kind of disaster movie. So the guy has some cred in this space. It's just it is kind of ironic that he's criticizing it for being these kind of big dumb blockbusters when he is sort of the poster child for big dumb blockbusters. And he's done 2012, and I think I've seen most of the movies he's done. I enjoyed them to varying degrees, but I find less and less as I get older, except I think I enjoyed Moonfall more than I should have, but I still had a lot of problems with it. I know we saw it together in person at a theater. It was my first in theater experience of 2022. God help me. Um, I think you fell asleep during the best part of the film.
I did doze off a bit, yes.
Now, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
feel bad because there's a lot of weird garbage in this movie, but there's about 10 minutes during the climax, and it's a 10 minutes that rips off two much better films. So maybe that explains it. But this kind of junk blockbuster, which is about the moon breaking orbit and slamming into the earth due to alien interference
Purposely.
purposely, it starts to be about something late into the third
It
act, and I think it showed a
tries.
lot of it. Yeah, it shows a lot of promise, and I wonder if Emmerich and the two screenwriters, but I'll pin this mostly on Emmerich, if he wanted to tell a big idea movie but was sort of too afraid that if he tried to burst out of his own or like get out of his own lane that he wouldn't be taken seriously. So he just figured, I'll make the movie I'm known for and then put this little germ in there just so I can say that I tried.
I don't doubt it. I mean, for 75% of the movie, it's filled with Roland Emmerich tropes. I mean, you have these ancillary characters that have to survive the end of the world that really are only somewhat connected or estranged from the main characters who have to save the world. So it's so his movies. That's Independence Day 4. That's The Day After Tomorrow. That's what are the other ones? Oh, 2012 you mentioned. But I mean, come on, it's just yes, and yes, he does. He and the co-screenwriter, I forget his name, but they wanted to add a little something later towards the second half, but it becomes just so first of all, you have to buy into the fact that, like you said, the moon is deliberately coming out of orbit. It's coming at us. And, there's this whole subsect of, homemade scientists calling themselves, what's it called?
Megastructurists.
Megastructurists. Yeah, I love it. Saying that the moon isn't a star or a planet. It's actually a hollowed out structure, let's say like a space station.
Well, it literally becomes a Death Star.
Right. so then let's make fun of Star Wars movies. But yeah, I go back to just, if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, Star Wars was a hit in the 70s and 80s, and I mean it broke ground in sci-fi movies. Granted, that's more science fantasy, but it made possible a range of other, big budget or mid-budget sci-fi movies. So, look, don't cry over it. I'll just do a better screenplay. When I was watching this, I found myself appreciating Gerard Butler's Greenland a lot more.
I didn't see that.
So it is also still a kind of like a post-apocalyptic. We're getting a comic coming our way, and that we got to do something. And it just, I know, don't look up, yeah, but this one is more like, all right, what about, what would happen if it was like it felt really real? And Roland Emmerich has never really made a movie like that. He tries to insert these real characters, but they're more like cardboard cutout characters, stereotypical characterizations, and puts them in this upcoming, incoming peril. But there's really never a reaction like I mean, there was more honest reaction in Don't Look Up about, the end of the world than in this one. Like just guttural, raw response.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the problem of making this particular kind of movie. I was honestly kind of pre-disappointed in the film because when I first saw the trailer for it, I think the earliest trailers, just kind of the idea that the moon was going to crash into the earth and that was going to be the new disaster film, kind of like 2012 or whatever. It's just natural disaster threatening to end humanity. When I found out later that it was an alien plot, I was like, I'm just not interested in that, because you kind of get the glimpses of these nanobots. It looks so like 2007 Transformers era that I'm like, really, this is what we're back to now? A cyclone of nanobot technology swarming in. And, even you go back to Prometheus, where you've got the astronauts and then the giant tentacle thing like smashes through the face of the exosuit or whatever. It just seems kind of all like these stolen ideas.
What was that one alien outer space movie with like Ryan Reynolds and who else? Came out in like spring one year.
Oh,
was it called Life?
Life. Yeah, the alien, the real alien ripoff with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Ferguson.
Yep.
Everybody who should have known better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the movie even opens with, it reminds me of oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. Gravity. Yeah, these kind of two technicians out in space working on something. All of a sudden, there's, the alien swarm, space storm comes and kills everybody. I was hoping and almost expecting that at the end of the film, because there's the one guy, he's the third person on the mission, that the friend who gets, sucked out into space, where I was waiting for him to come back as like the evil alien intelligence, like,
I found the dark side of the moon and it turned me.
But we can't have nice things.
I know. And that opening scene cracked me up because they're sitting there arguing over the lyrics to Toto's Africa.
Yeah, I mean, it's the I know this took place in 2011, but you had the internet. They could have, who hasn't looked that up by now? But whatever, let that go. I just couldn't get over Patrick Wilson's horrible singing. I know it's supposed to be funny, but also just like Independence Day, you open up your movie with a pop song and somebody kind of like bopping along to it. In the beginning of that movie, it's the End of the World by REM.
Right.
Emmerich keeps stealing from himself. Now, I will give him credit in that this, I guess the Independence Day sequel kind of treaded that requel line. He's at least not blatantly saying, okay, we're going to remake Independence Day. We're going to remake 2012. He's just coming out with movies that have all the same tropes, so that the new generation, that's the problem, is everyone's like, oh, the branding, like kids aren't going to remember stuff that's, from 20 years ago. You have to relaunch it. You don't have to do that. You could just make the same movie, but, slap a different coat of paint on it.
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense. I mean, you're just repeating yourself, honestly. It's like, well, this worked for me. Okay, maybe box office wise it worked for you, but buddy, did you read the reviews?
Well, it didn't even work out box office wise. I mean, I don't know what kind of legs this thing is going to have, but
I mean, the previous movies that he's done,
oh, sure,
especially like ID4, but even in like ID4 too, I mean, some of the same. I mean, there's some elements here that are similar to the Independence Day sequel. How, you know, the one or two, you know, specialists in a spacecraft, you know, make it towards the end, towards the enemy, and are finally in the enemy's lair, and da da da. It's like, this just feels like it's been done before. But even beyond that, every line in this movie is just wretchedly cringy. Like, wow.
But funny.
Funny, not intentional. Not intentionally funny, but so funny because they're so bad, you know. And at one point I did turn to you and I said, I love this movie.
Yes.
And it's just because honestly, I was sitting there watching that and I was like, when was the last time we sat in a theater on a big screen and watched something just this much of a debacle? You know, it's just like it I love it because it reminds me of, you know, what we used to enjoy. Because once you realize how bad it is, then the question is, well, is it still entertaining? And this movie still is entertaining. I mean, on a purely, hey, this is nice to look at on the big screen. I can't believe this is that bad. These characters are so dumb. If I was this actor, I would take this pay too. You know, the guy who plays the is it Jason something?
Oh, John Bradley.
Yeah, John Bradley. Yeah, the guy who plays the kind of doofus, you know, dumb, you know, overweight, you know, it's always that kind of character who knows a lot about something and has to prove himself, and has a sweet little mom in a nursing home losing her mind. That character was, you know, I knew the actor from Game of Thrones and he was all right in that. But you know, that character could have been dialed down a bit and given a lot more nuance. But that's not, I understand that's not this kind of movie, but still there's potential here.
Right. It's also interesting because in any other movie, he would have just been the obnoxious sidekick, but
Right.
almost in the same way, almost the same dynamics as Independence Day. This movie has a few main characters and he ends up kind of becoming a main character. He gets almost as much screen time as Patrick Wilson and even Halle Berry. I think, you know, how it's funny. I think it might have been in our Earth's Mightiest Critics group. There was some comment about, like, I think it was Mark had gotten out of seeing this movie and he said it was terrible. And someone else said, what do you expect? It's got Halle Berry in it. I'm like, how far has Halle Berry fallen?
I mean,
Academy Award winner 20 years ago to like now it's like, oh, there's a bad movie that she's in and nobody's surprised. I don't know what happened.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I can't remember, like, she's only headlined like a handful of movies, you know. I mean, Gothica, you know, obviously Catwoman, but
she was in, you know, Monsters Ball and, you know, Swordfish. But yeah, I mean,
but she's carrying this movie because, I mean, yes, it's spread out as far as, you know, main character wise, but her name's the first to appear. It's Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah. I think Patrick Wilson does, you know, I think both Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson and John Bradley do, you know, they do the best they can with the material. And I feel like it's like that paycheck question. It's juicy enough that I think they're like, yes, I'll do it for the money, but also it's not embarrassing enough that it's not like an Asylum production or the Independence Day sequel. They'll be able to say, yeah, it was fun and it's a fun, you know, cheesy movie.
Yeah, it's not a Bruce Willis joint, you know. I mean, it's a big gig. And the thing is, you know, if you listen to I listened to Mark Maron's episode with Halle Berry. She was promoting that movie on Netflix, Bruised, that she starred and directed in. You know, she's like, and the next movie I have coming out in February supports these movies. You know, so I get it. You know, I mean, I'd feel the same way if Roland Emmerich came knocking. I'd take it, knowing full well what it is. You know, still, it doesn't necessarily fall on them. It falls on the writing. and the director falling into using his own tropes,
Well, I want to get to back to what I was saying earlier about this 10 minutes, the kind of missing 10 minutes from your experience. But at one point, the moon is entering Earth's atmosphere. We get take a shuttle out of mothballs from a museum and we get it up into space on 2 boosters instead of the 3, and then just on 1. The Earth's the shift in gravity helps get it all the way up into space. The shift in gravity also helps people jump like the Mario Brothers during a couple of key scenes where 2 of the scientists are trying to get out of the building and onto a transport, but everything's going to hell, and they actually do like the boing kind of it's so goofy.
Yeah.
And I'll jump ahead.
I was like, this is happening.
It's like the happening. But then later on in the film, talking about the dialogue, there's a scene where Patrick Wilson's son, who looks like the love child between Taylor Kitsch and Jonathan Michael Murray, or Chad Michael Murray rather, he has a tree stuck on him, and his would-be girlfriend is trying to pry it off of him, and she can't. But they happen to be in the middle of a gravitational storm, and the tree is lifted up off of me. It gets out, and she says, "The moon helped us.
The moon's helping us.
The moon's helping us."
Wow! Thanks, moon.
But anyway, during the best part of the film, I think the smartest part, it almost reminded me of The Matrix, Interstellar, and The Eternals somewhat, because we get this ridiculous history of life on Earth and life in the galaxy. There's these alien cultures from, bazillions of light years away. They develop artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence essentially becomes Skynet and decides, well, you've got to go. And so there's this war between these humanoids and this technology they've created. They're chased to the far ends of the galaxy. The humanoids develop this technology to essentially seed planets, and they come up with basically this arc system inside of these superstructures that they wrap inside of rock matter moons, essentially, to seed life. The robots find them, wipe them out, except for the one that gets away. And that ends up escaping into, or showing up at the Big Bang, essentially. It's a kind of a cool effect of, the Big Bang happens and all the matter is like swirling about, and the moon gets kind of caught up in this, ends up in the orbit of, Earth and planting the seeds there. It sounds ridiculous, but I feel like this could be the premise, like in better hands. It sounds like the beginning of, what could be a well-written sci-fi novel or a movie. I know nothing about science or even movie science, but I was like, watching this, that's what I'm talking about when I say that Emmerich, it feels like he came upon an idea for a movie, but no one's going to let him make it, because he's the guy who just blows shit up.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go there and make this go get a little weirder, and make this a little more out there. Everything that you described that greatly. It's just, even then when you were describing it, I was dozing off. It's just starting to be like, whoa.
The visuals, you got to see the visuals.
Yeah, exactly. That's what helps. I mean, it just seems, look, it's a great title, Moonfall. It sounds like chapter 4 in the Moonfall series. It just seems like some kind of series of books or something. It's just hard. Look, it sounds silly that I'm going to say it's just hard to get on board with.
Much like that transport. That's why you gotta have the special Mario jump.
Exactly. Halle Berry is the best person to pilot the shuttle, and Patrick Wilson, after the opening scene, he became kind of a booze hound, and
because he's a disgrace. The NASA pins, and that's the thing. Like, if they'd taken out all the ridiculous extraneous character nonsense, there's a real story here, because he gets blamed for this space disaster, even though he's like, yeah, there's an alien swarm that came towards us, and NASA's like, there's no evidence of that. It's kind of like, Ellen Ripley waking up, 57 years later, and like, there's no evidence of the creature. She's like, yeah, because I blew out the airlock. So there's this whole cover up. There's an estranged relationship between Wilson and Barry's characters. There's this wannabe scientist who gets the information that the moon is going to collide into Earth, and no one believes him. So he takes it to social media. It is very much like kind of a Don't Look Up situation.
Yeah.
This is like the dumb, kid, redheaded stepchild of Don't Look Up, which I know that's going to trigger a lot of people, because a lot of people don't like Don't Look Up. But I think there's could have been a lot here if Emmerich had just trusted himself and gotten out of his own damn way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if trusting himself is a good idea, because he's proven that these are his tendencies that he defaults to. So maybe this is him, and he just, he needs somebody, because he co-wrote this too.
Yeah.
So maybe if he had no involvement in the writing, that would be different.
Let me clarify. Trusted himself enough to, and I guess been mature enough to say, hey, I've got this great idea. I'm not the guy to make this movie, but I've got an idea for a movie. Let's give it to someone else. I don't think James Cameron would have answered his calls, but like a James Cameron could make this work.
Yeah, or Duncan Jones or something, or Ridley Scott or something. It would have been, much more interesting. It could have been something more heady and intellectual, like they're trying here, but you can't just shoehorn that in, this moment that feels like it's almost from a different type of movie into the kind of movie it already is.
There's two things that just struck out, and they're sort of stuck out to me, and they're sort of the problem, the thesis statement of why this movie doesn't work. There's a scene where the conspiracy theorists who happen to be right, the metastructurists, are having a meeting in this like Florida hotel or some LA hotel.
California.
Yeah, it's LA. And they've rented out a room, and like the world's coming to an end outside, but they're having a little meeting with slideshows and stuff. When they have to evacuate to the upper floors, the wallpaper in this hotel is the carpet pattern from The Shining. It's like this little detail, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, instead of, again, focusing on tighter screenplay, stuff that matters. And the other thing, at the end of the film, our wannabe doctor gets to play the hero because Patrick Wilson is chosen by the good alien technology to stop the bad alien technology by detonating this bomb inside the moon. But, he would have to stay there to set it off. The good doctor guy, John Bradley's character, he hijacks the bomb essentially and says, no, you go live a good life. I'm a nobody, but tell everybody that I was a hero or whatever. He sets it off. At the end, there's this little coda where he shows up in this kind of white space.
Dreamscape type stuff. Yeah.
Very Matrix, when Neo finds out the truth. And then his mom is there with her cat. And it's like this, he's like, am I dead? And she's like, I wouldn't say that, but it's time to get to work. And he kind of gets this smile on his face. I didn't read that necessarily as like opening the door to a sequel, just kind of the idea that everything we've known about the universe is a myth. So everything that we know about death is kind of a myth too. Like maybe that's the transcending to the next plane of these aliens who want to do something like relaunch the species across the galaxy now that this part of the bad technology has been defeated. I had no idea, but the mom shows up with the cat, and she's kind of the cute, cheeky, like, oh, it's so good to see you, lovey, or whatever she's saying. It's a totally unserious moment where in better hands, it could have been like really profound, like, oh my God,
where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Could you imagine, what's his name? Who did, the one with Jason, Oscar Isaacs, and with the robot girl and everything. Anyway,
the robot girl.
I'm totally botching it. But anyway, it was with the AI. Alicia Vikander played the. Okay. What am I thinking of?
Ex Machina. Ex Machina. Yeah.
Holy cow! It's been a long.
Did you say Jason Isaacs?
I did originally. I want to say Jason.
It's Oscar Isaac. Yeah. Okay.
It's Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
I was thinking Event Horizon.
but it's something where it's like I could see that director, making something potentially out of this. But yeah, this movie just couldn't go there, and that ending, it was almost like the mother shows up in this like matrixy dreamscape, and she's like winking at the audience, you're let's get to work. And it's like, get to work with what are we doing? Get to work with an actual movie, or I don't know.
Plus, I wonder, does this mean that she's dead, or is she just a projection that was drawn from his mind? Because I mean, that's kind of sad. But
it seems like it would be a projection, because it seems like they already had that interaction with the Patrick Wilson character, that type of interaction, and the first image they showed him was him at a young boy's age, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably projected from because it's a kind of astral resurrection, not a physical resurrection. Yeah. So they scan their soul, let's say, and then kind of materialize it. So there's a lot of very interesting things that are trying to happen here that it just doesn't stick the landing. And the rest is just, you will get a lot of cool special effects and everything, but I mean, honestly, it's like that's another Emmerich trope. It's like, honestly, are they still a cool special effects? How many cities do we see blow up? How many comets do we come on.
And that's sort of the problem, is that the realism, I don't know that you're going to get more real than this, because it's not like Pixar, where every movie they seem to make leaps and bounds in terms of the realism with which they can depict something. They've gotten the photorealism thing down in these disaster movies as of probably 10 years ago. It all looks really convincing. So I think in this case, all you can do is make it more ridiculous. I mean, there's a scene where there's a shootout car chase that happens in the middle of a blizzard, in the middle of a gravity storm, and then meteors start falling.
Yeah.
And I was all for it, but it's like, what are we doing here? What kind of a film is this?
You can't just have, you can't just have like one thing happening. You got to add and add and add.
Which ends up subtracting from a lot of other areas.
Correct. There are two movies that came out over the past, 10 years. You mentioned 10 years that are like this, yet vastly more realistic. And that's The Wave and The Quake. Basically sequels in and of themselves. They're dealing with some of the same characters, but it's this Norwegian, Eastern European look at, natural disasters gone wrong, a huge tidal wave in a Norwegian fjord. Scientists find, and basically the people who live in this fjord react to it, and how are we going to survive? And there's some specialists, but they never expected this. So it just feels very on the ground and real world. And then The Quake, same writers, directors, but now dealing with Earth, So, it can be done. And those are two movies I recommend to seek out if you're like really jonesing for something like this.
I will seek those out. It sounds fun, although it almost sounds a little bit Die Hard too, like kind of. They survived the wave and they're like, oh my God, now the ground's opening up.
Yeah, it does get a little bit more like, it seems like they had more budget for the second one, I'll say. It still keeps within the same sensibilities. There's actually another one, I think, that coming out, I think this year, and I think it has to do with, I want to say with waters, and again with somehow, but I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But
Quake 2.
Yeah, exactly. The Quake wave. But here we have gravitational waves to deal with. And again, let's play more with that. It's just like, that's an interesting concept, because yes, the moon is off its orbit coming at us, but we're still rotating, right? So that's when they're going to have these gravitational waves, is because when we're turning and we're getting closer to the moon, then there's a certain degree when this gravitational wave force is stronger. So it's kind of interesting to be like, oh no, here it comes. So I mean, how quick is it? How long is it? How long are you dealing with this gravitational pull thing?
I do not have. I know. I slept, much like you, during the crucial 10 minutes of this movie. I slept through all of my science classes. That's why I went to art college.
Hilarious.
But no, I think we've talked about this, I think, more than it may deserve. Uh, I enjoyed Moonfall. I don't know that I'd ever watched again, but I feel like, maybe there's a little bit of growth in Monsieur Emmerich. And I would just say, if you happen to watch this, sir, because I mean, given the performance of this movie, you may have a lot of free time on your hands to watch YouTube videos. I'd say go with your instincts. Hire some better screenwriters, find some director talent who can handle the material, and just go for it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not write it next time.
Advise just
I mean,
story credit. That's where you need story
there
credit.
You go, story credit. I mean, if it did show up on Amazon Prime or something like that, I'd watch it again just to catch up with the part that I snoozed through. It's not gonna make it any better, I'm sure, but
no. And I gotta say, I will credit it with not being disaster porn. I feel like, and this is possibly something that the comic book movies that he was decrying sort of helped to fix, is that, especially in the post 9/11 world, and Man of Steel got a lot of crap for, it kind of reveling in the destruction of a city. I feel like was it Batman v Superman? Was that the one that opened with the destruction of Metropolis?
Yeah.
From Batman's kind of point of view,
right.
Sort of taking it more seriously. I will say that there's more of an emphasis on property damage than like human suffering. It's very much more kind of removed. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but I don't get the feeling that people are going to this movie saying, yeah, I can't wait to see everything just get destroyed. I would say there's more of a curiosity aspect, like why is the moon crashing into the earth, and how are we going to fix it?
Right. How are the filmmakers going to do this specific thing, meaning moon falling? It also reminded me a little bit of San Andreas. I mean, the disaster porn movies that you were talking about are more along the lines of San Andreas, the one with Dwayne Johnson and all them. But I feel like, the director of San Andreas is saying, "Oh, Roland Emmerich disaster movies, hold my beer." It's just so much, and it does feel like, disaster porn in a way. Yeah, this movie is trying a little bit something else, but like I said, it winds up being something else entirely.
Oh, it's something else, all right. Yeah,
I love the fact that basically they offered Donald Sutherland the role, saying, "Hey man, you could just sit in your chair the whole time," and it's pretty much what he does.
I was waiting for them to. I know the character is dead, but when they see him in profile, kind of like that shadowy profile looking at screens, I immediately thought of Brent Spiner as Dr. Oaken from the Independence Day movies.
That would have been amazing.
Like this is Chad Oaken, his brother.
Right. Yeah, like the Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 3. They're brothers. That would have been hilarious. Yeah, that's Moonfall for you.
Yeah. Well, and we're gonna set the sun on this episode. So thank you very much, David Fowley, of keeping it real. I will say that John Bradley, that is his name, right? Our scientist friend. We're gonna be seeing him again very soon, because he's in another film coming out this week. He's having a huge week. He's actually in Marry Me.
Oh, that's right.
Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson movie. Yeah.
That's one of those movies you're glad that it's coming out just so you could stop seeing the trailers show up.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's not, that there's more to it than what's in the trailers, because it's one of those, like everything else, they show what appears to be absolutely everything. So but we're going to be talking about that coming up soon. So mark your calendars, everybody. Anyway, consider that the divorce.
Couple of married middle-aged guys talking about Marry Me.
Yeah, it'll be great. Everyone's going to come here for their opinions.
At least that's something we have experience in, unlike Moonfall. Neither of us are astrophysics and physicists, so
I've experienced some pretty horrendous disasters in my life, some near misses.
Or what is it called? Structurists?
Megastructurists.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you a t-shirt with that on it, so you'll remember.
That's awesome.
But all right, man, thanks. If you enjoyed this content, everybody, please like and subscribe to the Kicking the Seat YouTube channel. Definitely follow David on Keeping It Real. That's REEL. Links and everything will be down in the description. Thank you very much, sir, and we'll catch you very soon.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.